Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and these are the games I reviewed last year in November. I do this series once a month where I take a look at where are they now, what happened to games I reviewed a while ago. As of right now, we're still going back only 1 year. At some point, we'll start doing, well, more, but not today. So, the games I reviewed last year in November, this was a busy month. On average, I review 5 games a week, which means generally these videos have around 20 games in them, which is manageable, not that many. But in November, I did a bunch of roundup reviews. I did a bunch of reviews packaged into a single video, smaller games together, and so this video has like 35 games or so. We'll be going over them quickly enough, and as always in this video, we will have it divided up into 3 sections. We'll have the games I have not played since reviewing them, which inherently have the same rating. I'll give you very brief one-sentence thoughts on those. Then we have the games that haven't changed, which is games that I have played since reviewing them a year ago, but my opinion on them has not changed. There's always going to be a whole bunch of games that I like, still like, or don't like, and well, then they probably left and I haven't played them. But either way, lots of games will have not changed. Again, short overviews on those. And then we have 5 games which have in some way changed. This does not always mean a rating change. Sometimes it means just thoughts and opinions. Sometimes it means the rating's the same, but it's leaving my collection. It could mean anything, but we talk about those. As always, sections broken up so you can jump to whichever section is the most relevant. If you've been watching the channel dedicatedly for the past year and a half or whatever, well, I guess year, if you're watching the channel dedicatedly in November, then the first 2 sections aren't really anything new to you. Anyways, from there, let's go ahead and dive into it. Starting off with that, timestamps down below, we have Harakiri. Harakiri was a Kickstarter prototype game. I gave it a 3 out of 5. I liked aspects of it. The game was divided up into 2 phases, but overall, that I liked the combat dungeon crawling phase, didn't love the exploration phase, so a 3 out of 5, curious to see where the final game does land. And again, prototype, worth noting some of these games are prototypes, things have and do change. Then we have Food Fighters. Food Fighters from Kids Table Board Gaming, gave that a 2 out of 5. Wasn't as much for me. I think it's very mass market in the design approach, meaning it didn't feel like a modern game design, it felt mass market. I think there's going to be an audience. I think that audience is going to be people who appreciate mass market more. Then we have Stay Cool. Stay Cool was a party game. I gave it a 3.5. Stay Cool is a party game where you're trying to desperately help your teammates manage things as they run out of time, trying to do multiple tasks at the same time while staying cool. Very fun party game, but also very much a kind of party game that is not the kind of game that is a fit for myself, my game group, my family. I enjoyed it. Always happy to play it. Don't need to own it. We have K3, Plan Your Climb. Gave that a 2.5. By the way, all ratings are out of 5. Gave it a 2.5 for K3, Plan Your Climb. A little tactical 2-player head-to-head abstract game of trying to select pieces and build a mountain and use them correctly. I thought it was fun. I thought it was totally fun. Honestly, it probably should be higher than a 2.5, arguably. But I would argue it was fine without being impressive. It was fine without being impressive. It just didn't really do much for me. It was totally fine. Then we have 4 Glory Champions. This is an expansion, a prototype expansion for 4 Glory. I gave this one a 4, like 4 Glory. I am wondering on 4 Glory. 4 Glory is a game that I really enjoy, but it's one that hasn't hit the table in a while, and it's one that I'm not always compelled to pull out. I do very much enjoy it when I pull it out, but I'm not compelled to pull it out, so I do wonder what happens to that one down the road. But for right now, have not played the expansion since then, so 4 out of 5, but haven't played it. Then we have Queen Games Roll and Write. This is actually a series of 3 games. We had the Queen Games Roll and Write series, which have Escape the Roll and Write. We had Copenhagen the Roll and Write, and Alhambra the Roll and Write. I like those to different degrees. Escape the Roll and Write, I did not like at all. It just didn't get, I didn't like it. I just straight up didn't like it. That would be a 2 out of 5. The Alhambra Roll and Write was a 3 out of 5. Totally enjoyable, but also I'd rather just play Alhambra. And then the Copenhagen Roll and Write was my favorite, a 3.5 out of 5, while still being, I'd rather play Copenhagen. All of them were okay in different ways, 2 different degrees, but yeah, that's the Escape Games Roll and Write. Then we have Dice Trip, another Roll and Write that for me was a 3.5 out of 5. I just preferred On Tour. I thought On Tour did very similar things to Dice Trip. Dice Trip added a degree of complexity, but not necessarily, I felt it added a little bit more fiddliness than complexity. So I just kept On Tour, did not keep Dice Trip, but I did like Dice Trip. Then we have Resurgence. Resurgence, which sadly, if I had done this video in a month, we probably would be playing Resurgence again because Resurgence just showed up. Resurgence from Stan Kodonsky, 4 out of 5. I can see that one growing, and when I continue to play it, I really love the prototype. I'm very excited to dive into the final version. We'll have to see what happens when I finally do, but my entire game group loved it. Again, there's very few prototypes that I exposed to my overall game group because I want to not push my hobby and the medium games I play a lot onto them, but Resurgence was excellent, and they all loved it, and it's going to see a lot of play, I imagine, so we'll see what happens with that one. Then we have Lost Cities Roll and Write, a whole bunch of Roll and Writes over here. Lost Cities Roll and Write was a 2.5 out of 5. I see no reason to play it over Lost Cities, past being able to play it with more people, I guess, but I would just rather play Lost Cities any day of the week. I felt the Roll and Write didn't really capture, it captured a small amount of the spirit of the game, but not nearly enough. And was just yeah, wasn't necessary. Then we have Waste Knights. Waste Knights was a 3.5 out of 5. Gave you a good degree of exploration, of storytelling, of all that stuff. I enjoyed it. For me, I gave it very, I would compare it to ISS Vanguard in terms of the feeling I got while playing it. And for myself, I just preferred ISS Vanguard, but overall I did enjoy Waste Knights, a 3.5 out of 5. We have Khora from Yellow Games, another 3.5 out of 5. This is a tableau building game. I thought it was very decently done. I really enjoyed the cards, trying to navigate and use your cards for your engine, but I didn't. I liked it. It was a 3.5 out of 5. I did like it, not enough to keep it. For me, I'd rather play Terraforming Mars, I'd rather play Ares Expedition, I'd rather play Mosaic, I'd rather play a lot of games that give me a similar tableau building with a little bit more going on to the experience. We have Ruination. Ruination, which is another 3.5 out of 5. Ruination is one that it's area control, and it's area control fighting in a genre where I like a lot of other games a lot more, and that was Ruination's biggest problem. I thought that many aspects of Ruination, they give you lots of fun powers and abilities, lots of direct head-to-head confrontation, lots of fun stuff going on in Ruination. Something about it never really strongly vibed as far as killer plays. There were never moments where I felt overly clever, overly powerful. It was just a good game, 3.5 out of 5. Then we have Steamwatchers. Steamwatchers from Mythic Games gave that one a 3 out of 5. The area control was very tight, very well done, very well balanced, but similar to Ruination, to an even worse degree, just nothing cool happening. No powers and abilities. It was all just elegant area control, which works totally fine, but not the genre of what I'm going for when I like area control. I like the powers and abilities. I like the over-the-top. I like the cool plays, and Steamwatchers was just direct head-to-head area control. Also very brutal as far as caster mechanics go. If you got hit early on in the game, you were going to have a hard time. We have Bristol 1350. Gave that a 2.5 out of 5. This is a month full of a lot of mediocre bad games. Probably why I did roundup reviews. I don't love doing dedicated coverage on like, hey, here's a game I really didn't like. Here's a game I really didn't like. And so a lot of these got bundled into like, here's 5 games like this one. These 4 can go. Just easier and faster. I'll rate and review the games as I feel with them, but I don't feel the need to just put out a whole bunch of videos on mediocre games that were mediocre. Anyways, from there we have Bristol 1350, which is a 2.5 out of 5. That's another one where I just felt there was a hidden... What was the genre? The genre was hidden role, basically, but kind of hidden role. You're playing as plague people on carts and trying to figure out who has the plague as you spread or whatnot. The game kind of just felt lucky and random. It's the kind of thing where I'm sure people can be like, oh, the strategy here and the strategy there. It just kind of felt like, okay, great, we'll just see what happens. It didn't give me the feeling of satisfaction I get from hidden role games. Did not enjoy that one much. 2.5 out of 5. We have Brian Boru. Brian Boru was a 3.5 out of 5. This was a trick-taking area control game. Some elements of Brian Boru I really enjoyed. I'd rather just play games like Inish, though. It gave me an opportunity to feel some degree of clever with the trick-taking, but I think there are better trick-taking games and better area control games. Brian Boru nicely merged the two, but not in a way that I felt the need to keep. Monsterpocalypse from Mythic Games, that was a 3 out of 5. Monsterpocalypse is one that I do have higher hopes for it. I did back it because there was a lot of promise about it, and a lot of the feedback generally seemed to be from people who played the game. It's a series that existed, is that you have to play with more stuff. You have to play with more characters, more advanced, double monsters. So I think Monsterpocalypse is the kind of game that I can enjoy more when I have the actual content as opposed to the limited prototype content I had. I give it a 3 out of 5 with promise. I don't know if it's the kind of game that'll stay. Like, I backed it, but it might be the kind of thing that I move on from as soon as I get it, just because I want to like it, I want to own it, but like even directly Super Fantasy Brawl from Mythic Games is a direct competitor to it, and I just don't know if Monsterpocalypse will hold up. If it's a 3 now, sure, maybe it goes to 3.5, maybe it even goes to a 4. It's still fighting in a very contested territory, like against other games like Bloodstone and Super Fantasy Brawl. Other games, I think it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. We'll see what happens. Then we have Trinity of Reign. Trinity of Reign is one that did not fun. Gave that one a 4 out of 5. I loved it. I thought the prototype looked like garbage. I thought the game could have used a lot of development work in terms of some of the aspects of it. But the overall game I thought was really nice. It's the kind of game that I want to hook up the company with another company and be like, make an amazing game out of it. Even as it was, I thought it was 4 out of 5. It just was really, really solid and enjoyable. Sadly, the fact that the prototype didn't look great, I think and the fact that it was expensive, didn't mean it didn't fund twice. So I don't know what will ever happen to that one, but I liked it. Then we have Paper Dungeons. Paper Dungeons was a 3 out of 5. Arguably should be a 3.5 out of 5. Probably should be a 3.5 out of 5. But it's one that I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was a good roll and write exploration game. My biggest problem with it was it felt too samey as you dove into it multiple times. I thought there was a really good puzzle, and the same puzzle every single time with a map. Like, it's a dungeon crawl with the same map, and so a large degree of choosing the same pathways every time. I liked it, but did not need to keep it. And then lastly, we have lastly from the section, we have Merchants of the Dark Road. Gave that a 3.5 out of 5. I like Merchants of the Dark Road. I just don't need to play it. I thought it was good. I did not think it was great. I thought I have a full review of it. There were elements and complaints around the system that I thought was one of the most beautiful games ever, a game I wanted to love, but a game that ultimately I did not love. I was merely okay with. I thought it was good, a good Euro, and I have a lot of great Euros in my collection instead. And lastly, not lastly, now we move on to the next section, which is the games that have not changed. Games I've played since covering them a year ago. I've continued to enjoy them in different ways, but my opinion of them has not changed. And to that end, we have Land vs. Sea. Continue to play this one. It's a 4 out of 5 from Good Games Publishing. To me, this is not replaced, but it's joined Carcassonne as the kind of game I go with when I want a very solid 2-player head-to-head. Well, this one plays at 2 and 3. Well, Carcassonne plays at more players. I pull this out often at 2, but also at 3 players. But Land vs. Sea is just a good game where you're going to be trying to build out your components, your tiles, trying to figure out how to place things. Very tight. Very much enjoy this one. We have Coloretto, not on the table. 4 out of 5. Had that one in my collection for like 6-7 years by now. It's been a long time. I just think Coloretto gives you such a tight game and like 20 minutes of play with just tough decisions and crunchy scoring. I just love diving into Coloretto. We have Dead Man's Draw, a 3.5 out of 5. Coloretto's a 4 out of 5. I think I said that. Dead Man's Draw is a 3.5 out of 5. Still love it. It is very much. I like the push your luck aspect of it, and I think it's really well done while being simple enough and engaging enough. To me, that and Can't Stop are like the two. Do I still have Can't Stop? Where's Can't Stop? Oh, there it is. I'm just making sure I have it. Just making sure. I'm sorry, I'm panicking. Anyways, Can't Stop and Dead Man's Draw are two of my go-to push your luck games that I really enjoy. Bonfire from Stefan Feld, 4 out of 5 on this one. I am curious whether this holds up forever. At the end of the day, Euros that are a 4.5, Euros that are a 4 out of 5, I do find are in that middle zone where sometimes they stay, sometimes they leave. There's just lots of Euros competing for my attention. Usually a Euro has to go to 4.5 for it to be like strongly safe in my collection. 4s, I have many Euros that are 4s, but the longer a Euro is, that is a 4, the more of a question mark as to whether it stays. So Bonfire isn't safe forever, but I'm still enjoying it for now, and I'm waiting for the expansion, and I'll see if that augments and improves it. I know that with Lorenzo Magnifico, it took the expansion to bump it from a 4 to a 4.5, so time will tell. Then we have Mind Management. Mind Management over here, 5 out of 5. Continue to play, continue to enjoy. It's become one of my consistent games that I just pull out whenever I have an opportunity to do so. I love it. There's games I like, there's games I love. Mind Management is a game I love, and that has not changed in the slightest. We have Hanamikoji, not on the table here, 4.5 out of 5. Love that game. I've had an opportunity to also play Hanamikoji Geisha's Road since playing Hanamikoji. Hanamikoji has an I pick, you choose mechanism combined with a scoring puzzle that's just really, really rewarding, really enjoyable, quick playing. I think Geisha's Road does the same thing but more. I go back and forth on which one I prefer. I think Geisha's Road offers a few more interesting decisions, but I think Hanamikoji is just a bit quicker and simpler to teach and get going. So I think I'd probably keep Hanamikoji if I had to pick one or the other, but both have a place in my collection. They're tiny boxes, very solid games. Yeah, Hanamikoji, a 4.5 out of 5. Excellent experience. We have Battle Line, a 4 out of 5. This is one that it's been in my collection for years, like years, and it might stay around for years, I don't know. Ultimately, games like Hanamikoji have pushed Battle Line down for me. It's a 4 out of 5, it hasn't changed since last year, but I just pull up Battle Line less because I'd rather play other games like Radlands, like Hanamikoji, like different games that give you different lane scoring options. I still love Battle Line though, and still has a very tight, simple puzzle that I find very compelling. One of Reina Knizia's that has managed to stick around with my collection for a long time. And then lastly, speaking of games that push down Battle Line, we have Air, Land, and Sea, Critters at War. This is specifically, I have the Critters at War version, the cartoon version from Arcane Wonders. That's another game where it's just about a handful of cards and how to play them into different lanes and to try to figure out how to win with that puzzle. 2-player head-to-head. Again, there's a lot of games out there. This one, Critters at War, is a 4.5 out of 5. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it's great art. I think it's a very tight gameplay. Plays quickly, 2 players. You have to kind of appreciate the genre of what it's doing, but I do very much appreciate the genre. I think Critters at War is fantastic. And those are the games we haven't changed, which brings us lastly to the games that have changed. My opinion on these has in some way changed, not necessarily the ratings. Starting off with Maquis. Maquis, I gave a 3.5 out of 5. That's one that's going to be leaving my collection or has left my collection, depending on when you watch this video. Maquis is one that I like it. I continue to play through it. My rating has not changed. I still enjoy it. But the core puzzle, it's a solo engine that's trying to figure out how to place your people and avoid the Maquis and whatnot. But you're trying to figure out, yeah, the puzzle there is very solid, very enjoyable, very compelling, but also somewhat samey. I found that as I continue to play it, even though there's different scenario cards you can go for, I don't find it shifts up the experience. Compared to other solo games I own and keep, like the whole Oniverse series, I find that Maquis was excellent. And I think I don't know, 15, 20 plays in, I think I'm ready to move on from it. Then we have Moonrakers. Moonrakers is a 3.5, was a 3.5. and now I don't know what it is. This one's kind of in a limbo zone, because while Moonrakers, my opinion has not changed of, Moonrakers with the expansions, my opinion has changed. When I reviewed this one, I knew there were expansions coming, and I even specifically said, like, I'm only even keeping this game because I know there's expansions coming that are supposed to address the complaints I had against the game. I've played all of those expansions now, and they do address those complaints. Not only that, but they've introduced a solo mode, which is now my preferred way to play Moonrakers, with the solo or cooperative, I should say, not just solo, against the AI system, giving you a bit of a challenges and missions to work through together. I love the concept of Moonrakers. I think Moonrakers is either at a 4, possibly at a 4.5, with once you mix in all the expansions and content and all that. I'm not prepared to change the rating though yet. I like the expansions for sure. I think they add a lot. I need to play it with them more when I get the final copy and try the different modes and trying with the content and with the expansions and with cooperative play. So Moonrakers is definitely going up and definitely sticking around, at least for now, but where it's going is a little unclear. Then we have Rolling Realms. Rolling Realms, I gave a 3.5 out of 5. My opinion has not changed in this one. I do keep playing Rolling Realms. I do find it enjoyable. I will say that during my review, I said I was in the middle of playing through the solo stuff. I played through the regular head-to-head as well as solo. And the solo mode is like the 18-hole campaign. I was like, I'm going to finish it at all 3 levels. I haven't. I finished the first solo campaign. I'm halfway through the second, and I haven't played it solo in a while. I have continued to play it head-to-head against other players, but Rolling Realms is definitely one that I still enjoy. Did not get the 56 plays I said I was going to, or 54 plays I said I was going to, but I still play it a lot. Then we have Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg is actually one that goes down a bit for me. Blitzkrieg was a 4.5 when I rated it, and now it's a 4 for me, I think. I think it's one that I love Blitzkrieg, I really do, but I have found that the more I play it, the more it shifts down a drop in terms of how much I love it. I still think it's great. 4 is still a solid game. Caesar, for me, is my preferred version. Caesar's the new version of it, and I think Caesar is a better experience that gives me a bit more as far as the interesting choices I have to make along the way. So I like both systems. I like both games. Blitzkrieg has gone down to a 4.5 to a 4, and Caesar, as of now, is currently not yet rated, so we'll have to fix that at some point. And then lastly, we have Riftforice, which, again, not really a rating change in this one. I gave us a 4 to 5, and I said I want the expansions, and I think where I am with it now is I think it's still a 4 to 5, but a 4 to 5 that I'm ready to move on from. This goes back to the conversation around the different games that are all competing in this genre. When I think of Riftforice on the shelf, I like Riftforice. I think it's a solid game. You choose these different characters, you try to figure out how to deal damage to different enemies and whatnot. When I think of Riftforice on the shelf, though, I'd rather play Battle Line, I'd rather play Hanamikoji, I'd rather play Erland and Sea Critters at War. In fact, I think this conversation actually cements for me that I think I'm getting rid of Riftforice. Because I like Riftforice, I really do. There's just too many 2-player games that are competing in that genre for me. And Riftforice, what it does is very clever and very elegant and very rewarding. But I think I'd rather play the other 3 or 4 aforementioned games, plus who knows what else I have in my 2-player shelf up there. So Riftforice is good. Still a 4 to 5, still enjoy it, still recommend it. But for me, I just have other games that I recommend and enjoy more than that one. And that's what we have for November. A whole lot of games, a lot of them, most of them in the haven't played section. Again, a lot of these were games I didn't love enough to try again after covering them, and they just got bundled up into a whole lot of reviews and shifted on their way. But again, lots of games. At the end of the day, this happens all the time on a regular basis. There are a lot of games that I love. There are a lot of games, and every time there's every once in a while there's gonna be a batch of hey, I love this game and that game and this game, and they'll all happen the same month. But at the end of the day, far more games are good, decent, very good than there are amazing games. In this entire list, the amazing ones, I mean, we have Mind Management, we have Critters at War, we have Hanamikoji. There are some amazing games out there, but most of the games are going to be just good to very good. In any case, until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.